I want to tell you a story that happened not long ago in the busy streets of Lagos. It is a story about pride and its price, about blindness that goes deeper than the eyes. The sun was merciless that afternoon, pouring fire onto the market streets. Traders shouted their wares while kiki drivers honked through the chaos. But amid all this noise sat one woman who moved like calm water in a rushing river. Her name was Mama Nena. She was old, with silver hair wrapped in a faded head tie. Her feet were dusty from walking barefoot on hot concrete. In her lap sat a wooden tray filled with groundnuts, each one carefully arranged like tiny treasures. But there was something special about Mama Nena that made people whisper when they saw her. Her eyes were white as morning mist. She could not see the world around her, yet her hands moved with the skill of someone who had done this work all her life. She knew the weight of each groundnut, could count money by touch, and always smiled when children approached her stall. The market women respected her. They knew she was not ordinary. There was power in her stillness, wisdom in her patience. On this particular day, as Mama Nina sat shelling groundnuts under the scorching sun, laughter echoed from across the street. It was not kind laughter. It was the sharp, cutting kind that slices through hearts like a knife. Ada strutted through the market in her designer sneakers, phone in hand, recording a TikTok video with her friends. She was 18 years old, daughter of Chief Okoro, one of the richest men in the area. Her nails were painted bright pink, her hair was perfectly styled, and her clothes cost more than some families earned in a month. "Look at this one," Ada laughed loudly, pointing her phone camera at Mama Nina, acting like the world owes her money. Imagine selling groundnuts blind. How can she even see what she's doing? Her friends giggled and made faces for the camera. They posed and laughed, treating Mama Nena like a joke, like entertainment for their social media followers. The market grew quieter. Other traders stopped their work to watch. They shook their heads, knowing that some lines should never be crossed. Some people should never be mocked. But Ada continued, her voice growing louder, more cruel with each word. Mama Nena tilted her head toward the laughter. Her milky white eyes seemed to look directly at Ada, though everyone knew she could not see. When she spoke, her voice was calm but sharp, cutting through the noise like a blade through silk. "My child," she said softly, "laughter at another's pain is like pepper on your own eyes. You will see." Ada rolled her eyes and knocked the tray slightly with her designer bag. Groundnuts scattered across the dusty floor like brown tears. "Old woman, a beg, shift. I know get your time," she said in pidgin, showing off for her friends. She walked away, still recording, still laughing. Her friends followed, their high-heeled shoes clicking against the concrete. They thought it was all fun and games, just another video for their social media accounts. But as Mama Nina bent to gather her scattered groundnuts, something strange happened. She tapped her walking cane against the ground 3 times, tap, tap, tap. The sound echoed strangely in the busy market. A sudden gust of wind swept through the street, rattling nearby umbrellas and sending dust dancing in small whirlwinds. The traders stared and whispered among themselves. They had seen this before. They knew what it meant. But Ada never looked back. That evening, Ada lounged on her silk-covered bed, scrolling through her phone with painted fingernails. The room was cool from air conditioning, filled with expensive perfumes and the latest gadgets money could buy. The TikTok video of her mocking Mama Nena had already gone viral. Thousands of comments poured in like rain. Some made her laugh, heart-eye emojis and fire symbols. But others made her uncomfortable. "This girl no get conscience," one comment read. "Blind woman still day hustle, and you day laugh," wrote another. "God doesn't sleep," warned a third. Some even threatened to report her page. Ada hissed and threw her phone aside. "Jealous people," she muttered. "They wish they had my life." But as she stood to wash her face in her private bathroom, she noticed something strange. Her vision seemed blurry, like looking through a dirty window. She blinked hard, rubbing her eyes with expensive face cream. "Chai, maybe it's all this ring light I've been using," she said to herself. She had been making videos late into the night, the bright lights shining directly into her eyes for hours. She splashed cold water on her face, but the foggy feeling remained. Something felt wrong, but she couldn't quite understand what. Later that night, as Ada tried to sleep in her comfortable bed, the itching began. It started as a small irritation behind her eyelids, like sand had somehow gotten trapped there. She rubbed her eyes, but the feeling grew worse. The sensation became sharp and burning, as if tiny needles were pricking the inside of her eyelids. She sat up, alarmed, and stumbled to her bathroom mirror in the dark. For a moment, in the dim reflection, she thought she saw something impossible. Two faint, ghostly eyes stared back at her from the mirror, eyes that were white and hollow, exactly like Mama Nina's. Ada screamed and stumbled backward, her heart pounding like drums in her chest. She switched on the lights, but the mirror showed only her own face, though her eyes were red and watery. Her younger brother, Emeka, knocked on her door. "Sister, you day okay? I hear you shout." "I'm fine," she snapped, forcing a laugh. "Just bad dream." But as she lay back down, pulling her expensive blankets up to her chin, Mama Nina's voice echoed in her mind like a song that wouldn't stop playing. "You will see. You will see." Sleep came slowly, filled with strange dreams. Ada woke up drenched in sweat, though her room was cold from the air conditioning. The sheets clung to her skin like wet clothes. Her heart was still racing from the dream that felt too real to forget. In the dream, she had been standing by a river, her feet sinking slowly into thick, black mud. The water was dark and still, like oil. Across the river stood Mama Nina, no longer bent and frail, but tall and powerful, her white eyes glowing like small moons. The old woman had been whispering words Ada couldn't understand, words that seemed to come from deep within the earth itself. The sound had made Ada's bones ache and her teeth chatter with fear. She tried to shake off the dream, telling herself it meant nothing. But when she reached for her phone to check the time, she realized something horrible. She couldn't see the screen clearly. Her vision was dim and smoky, like someone had smeared ash across her eyes. Panic began to creep into her chest like cold water. She ran to the bathroom and splashed more water on her face, muttering to herself, "This is nothing. It's just stress. Too much phone time." But deep down, in a place she didn't want to admit existed, she knew something was very wrong. The next morning brought no relief. Ada woke to sunlight streaming through her window, but it wasn't the bright, clear light she was used to. Everything looked blurry and distant, like she was seeing the world through thick fog. She rubbed her eyes hard, hoping to clear whatever was blocking her vision. "What is this?" she muttered, running to her mirror. Her pupils looked dull and clouded, like dirty glass. Panicked, she called her mother, Nkechi, who was having breakfast downstairs. "Mummy, my eyes. They're not clear. Everything looks strange." Nkechi frowned as she climbed the stairs. "And maybe you need eye drops. You young girls are always pressing phone, day and night." But when she looked closely at her daughter's eyes, fear flashed across her face like lightning. Ada tried to shrug it off when her friends texted about meeting at their usual cafe. But when she arrived, struggling to read street signs and bumping into people, her friends noticed immediately. "Guy, your eyes day red," one of them said, studying Ada's face with concern. Ada waved it off. "Not just sleep." But when the waiter brought menus, the words swam before her eyes like black fish in murky water. That night, the dreams returned with a vengeance. Ada found herself back at the dark river, but this time Mama Nina spoke words she could understand, words that chilled her to the bone. "Your laughter has blinded you, child," the old woman whispered, her voice carrying across the water like wind through dry leaves. "Until your heart changes, you will not see." Ada tried to call out, to apologize, to take back her cruel words, but her voice made no sound. She was trapped in silence while the world around her grew darker and darker. She woke up trembling, clutching her bedsheet so tightly her knuckles turned white. The room was spinning slightly, and she felt sick to her stomach. Something told her this wasn't just a sickness or stress from too much screen time. This was something else entirely. Something that doctors and eye drops couldn't cure. The word formed in her mind like a whisper from the shadows. Curse. But that was impossible, wasn't it? This was the modern world. People didn't get cursed by old women selling groundnuts in markets. These things only happened in village stories that grandmothers told to scare children. Yet as she sat in her expensive room, surrounded by all her gadgets and designer clothes, Ada couldn't shake the growing certainty that Mama Nina's warning had been real. Ada couldn't focus on anything the next day. When her father, Chief Okoro, came home early from his business meetings. He found her sitting in the living room, squinting at the television like an old woman. "Why are you looking at the TV like that?" he asked, loosening his expensive tie. "Nothing, Daddy. I think I need glasses," Ada replied, not wanting to admit how frightened she was. Chief Okoro studied his daughter's face carefully. He had heard whispers about Mama Nina, rumors that she was not ordinary. Years ago, he had quarreled with her late husband over a piece of land. The memory made him uncomfortable. "Ada," he said sternly, sitting beside her on the leather couch, "stay away from that woman in the market. You don't know who she is or what she can do." That evening, as Ada walked through the market with her mother to buy fabric, she saw Mama Nina sitting quietly with her groundnuts, humming a strange tune that seemed to float on the air like smoke. The old woman's blank eyes turned toward Ada as she passed, though everyone knew she couldn't see. "And, Madam Blind, I beg no look me like that," Ada snapped, though her voice trembled like leaves in wind. Mama Nina only smiled, saying softly, "Darkness is not in my eyes, my child. It is in yours." The next morning, Ada's mother dragged her to the best eye specialist in Lagos. The clinic was modern and expensive, with gleaming white walls and machines that beeped and hummed. Dr. Williams, a man with thick glasses and gentle hands, examined Ada's eyes for what felt like hours. He used bright lights and strange instruments, peering into her pupils like he was looking for hidden treasures. After several tests, he frowned and looked puzzled. He called in another doctor, and they whispered together in the corner like people sharing dangerous secrets. Finally, Dr. Williams turned back to Ada and her mother. "Madam," he said slowly, "there is nothing medically wrong with your daughter's eyes. Her retinas are healthy, her optic nerves are fine. Everything appears normal." Ada's heart began to pound. "So why can't I see properly?" The doctor spread his hands helplessly. "Sometimes stress or trauma can affect vision. Maybe she needs rest, perhaps psychological counseling." But Ada knew better now. She remembered Mama Nina's cane tapping the ground 3 times, tap, tap, tap. She remembered that strange gust of wind that had rattled the umbrellas. She remembered the old woman's words, "You will see." When they got home, her mother whispered to Chief Okoro, "This is spiritual. We need prayer." Chief Okoro shook his head firmly. "Nonsense. I'll find a better doctor." But that night, Ada's condition became impossible to ignore. She stood in front of her bathroom mirror, and what she saw made her scream until her throat was raw. Her pupils were turning cloudy and white, exactly like Mama Nina's eyes. The transformation was slow but steady, like milk being poured into clear water. Her screams brought the entire household running. Her parents, her brother Emeka, even the house help came to see what was wrong. "My eyes," Ada cried, pointing at her reflection. "Look at my eyes." Everyone could see it now. The change was real and undeniable. Her once bright brown eyes were becoming the milky white of blindness, though no disease or injury could explain it. Her friends began to avoid her phone calls. Word spread quickly through their social circles. "That girl way laugh at blind woman." People whispered. "Something done happened to Am." Some called her Juju girl behind her back. The same social media followers who had once loved her videos were now laughing at her misfortune, saying karma had finally caught up with her. The comments on her viral TikTok grew cruel. "That's why your eyes don't go. God doesn't sleep. You mock disability, now you get disability." Ada felt trapped in a nightmare that wouldn't end. By the next day, Ada's TikTok mockery had become a full scandal. Screenshots of her cruel laughter at Mama Nina spread across every social media platform like wildfire. People shared the video with angry captions about respect and karma. Ada broke down crying, throwing her phone across her expensive bedroom. The device cracked against the wall, but she didn't care about material things anymore. She collapsed into her mother's arms like a small child. Nkechi, who used to scold Ada for being too proud and spoiled, was now terrified for her daughter. "My child, we need to beg that woman. We need to go to church. We need to make this right." But Ada's pride still fought against the truth. Beg? Me? For who? A groundnut seller? Even as her world grew darker, she couldn't admit that someone she considered beneath her might have power over her fate. Chief Okoro watched his daughter struggle and finally spoke. "Ada, pride won't help you now. If it's Mama Nina causing this, you better apologize before it's too late." Still, Ada refused. though fear was eating at her heart like termites in wood. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Mama Nina's face, calm, patient, unshaken by insults or mockery. That night, she dreamed of crowds of blind women singing around her bed, their voices rising like smoke into the darkness. 3 days later, Ada's world went completely black. It wasn't gradual this time. She simply woke up and couldn't see anything at all. Not shadows, not light, not even the faintest shapes. Just endless, complete darkness. Her mother's scream could be heard throughout the house. "Jesus! Ada, can you see me? Can you see anything? I can't see." Ada cried, clawing at her bedsheets in panic. "I can't see anything. Everything is dark, the house filled with chaos." Chief Okoro called 3 different hospitals, demanding emergency appointments. They rushed Ada to the most expensive medical center in Lagos, but the doctors gave the same impossible answer. "We can't explain this," said the head specialist, studying Ada's test results with confusion. "Her eyes look perfectly normal medically, but she cannot see." Ada wept bitterly, her tears falling like rain on her hospital gown. "Why me? What did I do to deserve this?" But even as she asked, she knew the answer. She could hear Mama Nina's voice echoing in her memory. "Laughter at another's pain is like pepper on your own eyes." News of her blindness spread through the neighborhood like fire through dry grass. Some people said Mama Nina had taken her sight as revenge for the cruel mockery. That night, as Ada lay in her bed unable to see even her own hands, her grandmother Mama Ifeoma came to visit. The old woman was wise and respected, someone who understood things that modern doctors couldn't explain. She listened quietly to the whole story, nodding her gray head like someone who had seen such things before. "This is not a sickness," Mama Ifeoma said finally. "This is the cry of the oppressed rising up to heaven. When you wound someone deeply, their pain becomes a prayer that God must answer." At dinner, Mama Ifeoma revealed something that shocked everyone in the family. "Years ago," she said, her voice heavy with old memories, "your father took land from Mama Nina's family. Her husband fought for justice, but he died before he could reclaim what was stolen. Do you see now why her words have power?" Chief Okoro shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "That was business. That was in the past. What does that have to do with Ada?" "Everything," Mama Ifeoma replied sharply. "When you wrong someone like that, their pain becomes a curse that follows your bloodline. The children pay for the parents' sins." Ada broke down, her body shaking with sobs. "Grandma, what do I do? I can't live like this. I'm sorry. I didn't know about the land." The weight of her family's past sins pressed down on her like heavy stones. The next morning, Mama Ifeoma suggested they visit Mama Nina with offerings of peace. Chief Okoro grumbled and complained, but his fear for his daughter was stronger than his pride. They made their way to the market, Ada wearing dark glasses, holding tightly to her mother's arm, stumbling over things she couldn't see. The world had become a maze of sounds and smells without any visual landmarks. Mama Nina sat quietly in her usual spot, peeling groundnuts with steady hands. Her fingers moved with practiced skill, finding the good nuts and discarding the bad ones by touch alone. When she heard their approaching footsteps, she tilted her head and said without looking up, "I was waiting for you." Ada's voice trembled like a frightened child's. "Mama, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have mocked you. I was wrong." Mama Nina didn't reply immediately. She continued peeling groundnuts, the shells falling to the ground like brown rain. Finally, she spoke. "Apology is not just words, child. It must come from the heart. But your heart is still proud, still hard. You are sorry only because you are suffering." Ada knelt on, whispered to his wife, "How do we know this isn't just a scam? How do we know she's not just taking advantage of us?" Mama Nina's head turned toward him like she could see his doubt clearly. Her voice became sharp as a knife. "You know what you did to my family. The land you stole still cries out for justice. Until you make things right, your house will know no peace." The words hit Chief Okoro like physical blows. For once in his life, the powerful businessman had no comeback, no clever response. He stood there in the dust and heat, remembering the man he had cheated, the family he had destroyed. Silence fell over the small group. Even the busy market seemed to grow quieter, as if the very air was listening to this moment of truth. Ada clutched the clay pot to her chest, feeling its strange warmth through the ceramic. Her first real lesson in humility was beginning. That night, Ada sat in her bedroom with the small clay pot Mama Nina had given her. The water inside seemed to glow faintly, like moonlight trapped in glass, though she couldn't see it anymore. "Are you sure this will work, Grandma?" she asked Mama Ifioma, who sat beside her on the bed. The old woman nodded, though Ada couldn't see the gesture. "Just do as she said, child. Humility begins with obedience." Ada dipped her fingers into the cool water. It felt different from regular water, thicker somehow, and it tingled against her skin like gentle electricity. She washed her closed eyes carefully, hoping for a miracle. For a moment, she thought she saw faint outlines of light, like the world trying to peek through heavy curtains. But the vision vanished as quickly as it came, leaving her in darkness again. As she lay in bed that night, she dreamed once more of Mama Nina. But this time, the old woman stood in a field of glowing groundnuts under a star-filled sky. "Your heart must learn to see first," Mama Nina said in the dream. "Serve others as I have served, and your sight will follow your spirit." Ada woke up with tears on her cheeks, understanding that her healing would require more than magic water. It would require a complete change of heart. The next day, Chief Okoro swallowed his pride and returned to the market with a bag full of money. His hands shook as he stood before Mama Nina, this woman he had never respected before. "I wronged your family," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Take this money. Please forgive me for what I did to your husband." Mama Nina's blank eyes turned toward him, and though she couldn't see his face, she seemed to look straight into his soul. "Money cannot wash away the tears of a widow," she said quietly. "It is not money I want from you. It is justice. Help the people you have stepped on. Make peace with the poor you have despised all these years." Chief Okoro felt something crack inside his chest. All his life, he had believed that money could solve any problem, fix any relationship. Now he realized that some wounds went deeper than gold could reach. Meanwhile, the scandal around Ada continued to grow. Her former friends leaked screenshots of her desperate text messages begging for help. Miss Fancy Ada Dawn turned blind influencer. They joked cruelly. Trolls flooded her social media accounts with hateful messages. "This is what you get for mocking the disabled. Karma is real. Maybe now you understand." Ada felt like she was drowning in shame and regret. "Why me, Mama?" Ada cried to her mother for the 100th time. "Why did this happen to me?" Mama Ifioma, who was visiting again, answered with the wisdom of her years. "Pride is like smoke, child. When fire burns too hot, smoke must rise. You burned with arrogance, and now the smoke has covered your eyes." The words stung, but Ada was beginning to understand their truth. The next day, Mama Nina called for Ada to come back to the market. When the family arrived, she made a request that shocked everyone. "If you want your sight returned," she said calmly, "you must sell groundnuts beside me for 7 days. You must learn what it means to work as I work." Ada froze. Even blind, even desperate, the thought of selling groundnuts in the market horrified her. "Me? Sell groundnuts?" "Yes," Mama Nina replied without emotion. "Until you understand the value of humble work, until you feel what I feel every day, your eyes will remain closed." Ada's first instinct was to refuse. Her, the daughter of Chief Okoro, sitting in the dust, calling out to strangers, selling groundnuts like a common market woman? But the darkness around her was absolute. She had no choice left but to trust in Mama Nina's strange medicine. The first day was torture. Ada sat on a low stool beside Mama Nina in the scorching sun, a tray of groundnuts balanced awkwardly on her lap. Her soft hands, used to expensive lotions and manicures, fumbled with the unfamiliar work. "Buy groundnut. Sweet groundnut," she called out, her voice weak and embarrassed. People stared and whispered. Some recognized her from the viral video and laughed, taking photos with their phones. "Is that not the girl-way mock blind woman?" someone asked. "See how table turn." Ada wanted to run away, to hide in her father's air-conditioned car. But Mama Nina's voice guided her gently. "Feel with your heart, not your eyes. Learn to know people by their voices, their footsteps, their kindness or cruelty." The second day was even harder. Ada's soft skin blistered under the relentless sun. Sweat poured down her face, mixing with tears of frustration and shame. But slowly, something began to change. She started recognizing customers by the sound of their approach. The mother with the crying baby who always bought a small bag for her children. The old man who wheezed when he walked, but always said thank you with genuine gratitude. For the first time in her life, Ada was learning what it meant to work for every naira. By the fourth day, something remarkable happened. Ada stopped caring who saw her, stopped worrying about her reputation or her image. She was focused entirely on the work, on earning enough to buy food, on understanding what survival really meant. A small boy approached her stall, dirty and thin, staring at the groundnuts with hungry eyes. Ada could hear his stomach growling, even though she couldn't see his face. Without thinking, she scooped up a generous handful of groundnuts and pressed them into the child's small hands. "Take this," she said softly. "Eat. God bless you." The boy mumbled, "Thank you," and ran off, his bare feet padding against the concrete. Mama Nina, who had been listening quietly, smiled for the first time since Ada had known her. "Now you are beginning to see," she said. That night, Ada dreamed of light for the first time in days. It was faint and warm, like the first glow of sunrise after a long, dark night. She was changing, becoming someone she had never been before. The groundnuts were teaching her lessons that her expensive education never could. Compassion, humility, the dignity of honest work. Her heart was learning to see even while her eyes remained blind. Chief Okoro, meanwhile, had begun his own journey of repentance. He visited Mama Nina's old compound, where her late husband's family still lived in poverty. He repaired their broken fence and planted groundnut seeds in the small garden, working with his own hands for the first time in decades. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the grave of the man he had wronged. "I'm truly sorry." For the first time since this ordeal began, Mama Nina's voice grew soft when she spoke to him. "Your house will know peace again, Chief, but only after justice has been done." On the 5th day of Ada's market apprenticeship, her former friends appeared like cruel ghosts from her past. They came with their phones ready, laughing and recording. "Ada, our very own groundnut seller," they mocked. From TikTok star to market woman, Ada wanted to cry, wanted to hide her face in shame. But Mama Nina's gentle hand touched her shoulder. "Keep selling," the old woman said quietly. "Your humility is your weapon now, stronger than their mockery." Ada continued calling out to customers, ignoring the phones and laughter around her. That evening, as she washed her hands in a bucket of water, she felt something flicker behind her closed eyelids. A tiny spark of light, like hope trying to be born. The 7th day dawned with heavy storm clouds gathering overhead. As Ada and Mama Nina arranged their groundnuts for sale, the first drops of rain began to fall. Within minutes, the gentle drops became a torrential downpour. The market emptied as people ran for shelter, but Mama Nina's groundnuts scattered across the flooding street like brown seeds in a muddy river. Ada, blinded by rain and darkness, crawled through the rushing water on her hands and knees. Her expensive clothes were ruined, her skin was scraped by concrete, but she didn't care. She gathered every groundnut she could find, one by one, like they were precious jewels. "Why are you doing this?" Mama Nina asked, her voice barely audible over the storm. "They are just groundnuts. You could buy 1,000 bags with your father's money." "Because they're yours," Ada replied, her voice fierce with newfound conviction. "Because this is your livelihood. Because I understand now what it means to work for something." As she spoke, a child's cry pierced through the storm. A little boy had been swept into the overflowing gutter, his small hands grasping desperately at the concrete edges. Without thinking, Ada lunged forward into the rushing water, following the sound of his terrified cries. Ada's hands found the boy just as he was about to be swept away by the flood. She pulled him from the water with strength she didn't know she possessed, holding his small body against her chest as they both gasped for air. When she handed the crying child back to his mother, something miraculous happened. A strange brightness pierced the darkness behind Ada's eyes, like the first ray of sunlight breaking through storm clouds. For the first time in many days, she could see something, a faint outline of Mama Nina's face, glowing softly in the gray afternoon light. "I can see you," Ada whispered, her voice filled with wonder and tears. "I can see your face." That evening, as they sat together in Mama Nina's small shelter behind the market, the old woman placed her weathered palm on Ada's forehead. "You have learned what needed to be learned," she said gently. You have seen with your heart instead of just your eyes. Tomorrow, when the sun rises, your sight will be fully restored. Ada wept, not from sadness, but from joy and gratitude. She hugged Mama Nina tightly, this woman she had once mocked and dismissed. Thank you, she whispered. I was blind even when I thought I could see. You taught me what real vision means. The storm passed, and stars began to appear in the clearing sky like promises of hope. The next morning, Ada woke up in her own bed with clear, sharp vision. Colors seemed brighter than ever before. The world looked new, as if she was seeing it for the first time. She ran to her mirror, crying tears of joy. I can see everything. Her family rejoiced, but Ada's first thought was of Mama Nina. She hurried to the market, where she found the old woman arranging her groundnuts with the same patient care as always. Chief Okoro had built Mama Nina a proper shop with a roof and walls to protect her from sun and rain. He had also established a small fund to help poor market vendors, his way of making amends for past wrongs. This is my apology, he said humbly. Not just to you, but to everyone I have wronged. Ada, transformed by her experience, became a different person entirely. She deleted all her old, prideful videos and began using her social media platform to advocate for kindness, respect, and helping those in need. Standing before a crowd in the market, she spoke from her heart. I once laughed at this woman. I mocked her for her blindness and her poverty. Today, I stand here because she saved me, not just my eyes, but my soul. True blindness is not in the eyes, but in the heart. Mama Nina smiled her gentle smile and spoke the final wisdom. When we learn to see others as ourselves, then we truly see. And so ends this story, my children. Remember it well, for pride goes before a fall, and kindness opens every door that cruelty has closed.